Good morning, traders and investors. Steve Gans here for the weekend update on April 19th, 2026. And all I can say is, what a couple weeks. This just defies all logic from my perspective, the way the markets have moved. Now, I did say last week, I wasn't expecting a breakout, and I wasn't expecting a breakout. So, what did we get? We got a massive run up over the last couple weeks, and we got a breakout across all the indexes. But I want to put this in perspective a little bit because this is crazy. So, here are a few stats that I thought were interesting. The S&P rallied 13% in 14 trading days over these last 2 weeks. The best 15-day run since March of 2022. Now, that doesn't sound too long ago, but that March 2022 has a little bit of a caveat. That bounce happened after we had a pretty severe drawdown of 22%. So you will sometimes get these huge runs and massive bounces after a big drawdown. In this particular case, our dip was right around 10% or so. So it is highly unusual to get a big run like this off of about a 10% pullback, and even more unusual to break to new highs in that process. The Nasdaq posed 13 consecutive up days to close the week, something that's only happened 4 times in the index's entire history. So these are just some crazy stats here. The fastest RSI, relative strength reversal ever recorded, where the NASDAQ swung from oversold to overbought in just 11 days. So this move is just, I've been in the markets 35 years. I've never seen a move like this with this velocity, this strength behind it. And quite frankly, I personally don't understand it. I get it that there was a claim made that there's a lot of things that had been solved in the Middle East last week. But of course, as we know, regardless of who the president is, these things don't always get solved just because someone says they're solved. And I feel like we're in that situation now. I think the news today is bearing that out as well. The headlines that I'm seeing are that things aren't solved and in fact may even be escalating a little bit. So I do think that that was part of this run. I think some other things playing into this run are we are looking at potentially some very good earnings coming up in earnings season. I think that's a factor here. I think the fact that there's going to be a new Fed chair coming in soon, and that Fed chair is a little more, I don't know if I want to use the term under control or whatever by the president. So I think there's maybe some anticipations there. I'm not quite sure what all is factoring into this, but in my personal perspective, I don't get it. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean I'm certainly not wrong, because obviously I am, but it's not making sense to me. So that's where we're at right now on the SPX. We'll look at SPY, and we're going to have very similar, of course. And a couple things of note here is the volume is very low on SPY, which is interesting. It is a little bit higher here on SPX, which is a more institutionally traded product. So it seems like even the general public, if you look at what I'm seeing here, the general public or the retail buyer still seems to be a little bit more cautious based on the lower volume, where the institutionals aren't. So do they know something? I don't know. I don't know. We look at the S&P futures, also more of an institutional product. They're a little bit lower in volume as well. This is going to be a real big move. Volatility. I want you to specifically look. I know we've talked in recent weeks about how volatility just kept climbing, and that was during this particular time here. I just kept saying volatility is just channeling up and expanding. And then all of a sudden here in the past 2 weeks, volatility has just dropped. It's dropped from a high of 35 down to around 17. Massive volatility change in a relatively short amount of time. Also, just not registering in my brain here. I'm just not quite figuring this one out. Qs, very similar story with the Qs, and of course, the run in the Qs. I also saw another article that said, as far as percent, this was the single largest move in the Nasdaq index ever. I saw a statement to that effect on CNBC. The volatility in the Qs also dropped massively. Now, not quite as much, but certainly a massive drop over a short amount of time. IWM, while it had dipped, it had never dipped quite as low, but it made new highs too. So this is a very broad rally that's happened over the past couple of weeks. Volatility in IWM dropped significantly as well. Now, gold, oddly enough, hasn't moved a whole lot one way or the other. In times of what I'll call unrest or global insecurities, whatever term you want to use there, geopolitical events, gold oftentimes will rally significantly. And it did as we were leading up to this whole thing, but it hasn't fallen off much either over these past 10 to 14 days as there's claims that things are quote unquote solved. Under normal circumstances, you might expect a drop back in the precious metals area, the commodities area, and we're not seeing that. So there's just a few different stories here that just aren't quite coming together yet for me. The next week is really going to tell a lot from a standpoint of where are we on the geopolitical front come tomorrow morning. And if things are obviously not solved and if things are escalating, what's that going to do to these charts? Is it going to, in fact, give us some pullback here or not? If it does give us some pullback, that would be logical to me if geopolitical events are escalating, that there should be some pullback. If there's not, then the read or the take here from my perspective is that this is largely being fueled specifically by those other things I mentioned: higher earnings overall expected in companies, expected more dovishness on interest rates, probably being the two main players in that. Again, if the geopolitical issue spikes and we don't see a pullback, then I've got to pin this rise on those other issues. And that may be the case. I don't know. So, a question I always get asked as I have the Flyagonal trade that has performed phenomenally well: how does it work in this market? As we've seen, it handled this pullback just fine. The Flyagonal trade just continued going on, 31 wins in a row. It got dinged this last week. The streak was broken. I have a loser. So let's look at the report here for the Flyagonal trades. We can see this is the P&L curve of all of the Flyagonal trades that I've shared in the alert service here over the past couple months. And we were all the way up here to about 170% return since September, and then closed out a loser this last week. I've got two other trades open in there. One is just a slight loss, I want to say $25 or something like that, that if our market stays where it is or the market backs up, that one's going to move into profitability pretty quickly. The other one is a little more stressed. It may end up closing out at a second loss even. Not sure on that one, but it's not a big loss. So this has gone from, again, a high of 170% return over, I think that's about 6 months or so. And now, after that loss came in, 163% return. And these are the gains on a monthly basis. December, of course, was very quiet just because their volume dried up. There wasn't as much trading that was done there in December. This particular month here in April, right now, April could be the very first losing month ever for the Flyagonal trade since I've started sharing it here. It still has a 93% win rate. Average days in trade, 5.2. Unadjusted trades, 71%. Longest win streak, 31 trades in a row. Longest losing streak is 1 trade in a row. That may stay at 1, or that may go to 2 this next week if this second trade ends up being a little bit of a loser. Did bring in a new losing week last week. So these are all winning weeks. And then these are the 3 losing weeks so far. And what happens anytime you have a theta positive, delta neutral trade? I don't care if that's a condor, a butterfly, whatever it is, even though the Flyagonal, as you know from my prior videos here, has an extremely wide width associated with it. When you get that kind of move, you're going to run out of, in this case, the upside, and it does require some adjusting. And it's a little more difficult to adjust any type of theta positive delta neutral trade in a massive up run because volatility dries out. So when volatility starts drying up and starts shrinking up, you get less premium when you go to adjust those trades that have made a massive run up. In a massive run down, volatility explodes. So any adjustments you make in that down move are bringing a lot more premium into that trade, basically giving it a much better chance of being able to survive the move because of all the extra premium that's brought in when you make those adjustments. You just don't have that to the upside. So your hands are a little bit tied in a massive run up. All that said, this trade has held up phenomenally in normal market conditions and even somewhat abnormal market conditions. These market conditions that have happened recently, I would put a little more into the extreme category. So, with that, I'm going to wrap up the weekend update here for April 19th, 2026. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Take care.